This is the Our Town with Troy by North Alabama's podcast. We are rolling right along. We're into April now of 2026, and sitting across from me is Christie Finley, a longtime Alabama native.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Never lived in any other state?
Just in Alabama. I grew up in Madison and living in Huntsville, yeah.
I figured so. It would be surprised me if you said yes, because I think I did enough research. And, you know, you're one of those people in your past jobs as currently the president and CEO of Leadership Greater Huntsville.
Right.
Most people will probably know you as the superintendent of Huntsville City Schools. Mm-hmm. A smaller segment of people would know you as the principal and assistant principal and all the other things you've done in education, right, over your career. But I would imagine superintendent really kind of puts you out on the broader spectrum. Yeah. You agree with that?
I would. Probably the best job, though, was the teacher.
Oh, yeah.
Being a teacher. Yeah. That was the best job.
Yeah. Let's pull on that thread because the same thing happens. I work in like the government contracting, world, and so I'm exposed to the government workforce. And by and large, for the most part, you'll have that same experience where like the equivalent of a teacher would be like an engineer, which is kind of rare these days for an actual government employee to be an engineer, like working somewhere alongside contractors. Mm-hmm. They're going to be very much a minority. And what happens, though, in their career is that at some point, it's kind of like, if I want to make more money, I have to go into management. I have to be a supervisor. Doesn't mean they're destined to be a great manager or a great supervisor, but that's just kind of, unfortunately, the path they have to like trod. And then invariably what happens, and I'm just seeing it right now with a former customer of mine, he's in a different role, and I can tell he hates it because he just wants to go back at like what he's really good at.
Yeah, what brought him joy, I'm sure.
And I'm sure, same thing in teaching, right? I'm sure if you counseled or mentored the teachers under you, when you were principal or whatnot, is that kind of a similar discussion as far as, hey, I've got this career track and I have these goals, but they're kind of diametrically opposed?
Right. Yeah, you see when you're working with teachers, the whole purpose as a leader or principal or assistant principal is to build the bench, build that capacity. Yeah. You want someone to come along to sit in your seat to be able to do and carry on the things. Mm-hmm. And so you would talk to a teacher. I would talk to a teacher and say, have you ever thought about what your next steps are? Selfishly, I would want them to stay in the classroom because they are making the difference. They're making the change. They're growing those future generations. But at the same time, you're like, you got to build that capacity and hope that you can find someone who can sit in that next leader seat to continue that, capacity building that you would see in any, agency, organization, or business. So it is kind of one of those things where you feel pulled in different directions. You want to keep that great teacher in the classroom, but you also need to build great leaders too. Yeah. That can then continue that whole leadership capacity building.
Did that happen to you in your career when you were teaching? Do you recall, or can you talk about that process for you when you started thinking about, some of it might be I need to get additional education, which you did, right, to qualify or be certified. Right. But that process of, do I really want to, in order to abandon teaching, if you will, and going the administrative route, like, was that an arduous thing for you? Was it a natural thing? Can you talk about that?
Yeah, it was kind of like, I hate to say it was like not on my bingo card ever to really leave the classroom or then become a counselor and leave being a counselor and so on and so forth. It was just people along the way who, did the same thing I did as a principal. Have you thought about? And in my case, I actually graduated from Bob Jones High School and then went back as a teacher and taught 12th grade AP Economics and comparative politics. Yeah. Loved it. And we had an assistant principal at the time. Her name is Sue Hall, still lives in Madison. And she just positioned me in different things. I was part of the building leadership team or part of our National Blue Ribbon Schools of Excellence application and all these things. And then she said, have you ever thought about, going back to school? But she put me in positions or opportunities that led to other things, right? And I thought, when I grow up one day, I want to be Sue Hall. She's fantastic. Still probably one of the greatest administrators.
The standard.
Yes, she is the standard. Great way of saying that. And I still want to be as great as a Sue Hall. But it then kind of led me to another path, not right into administration. It went with school counseling. So I had, not only administrators along the way who helped kind of build my professional development and those kind of experiences, but it was a student along the way that I had in 12th grade that really kind of changed how I thought about teaching. I went into the classroom and I was like, everybody needs to know everything about government economics. Well, there's one of my favorite quotes that students don't care what you know until they know that you care. Mm-hmm. And a student would come in my classroom, second period, never forget this, hood on, head down, and I was like, what is going on? You've got to have this course to graduate. Mm-hmm. It's a class you have to have. And
get motivated, man.
Right, I know. Yeah. I was like, come on, what is the deal? Well, it's all about relationships and having conversations with students, taking time to have conversations, learn about what's going on. And I had a conversation with this particular student in the hallway, and his whole deal was, I'm coming to school to survive. I'm coming to school to get fed, breakfast and lunch. We didn't have a supper program at the time. And then soon learned that he was homeless, living in a car. Both his parents were incarcerated. Government economics is not important. Yeah. It's helping the student realize his greatest potential, making sure he has those resources, no more food insecurities, things like that. That really led me on my next path of leaning into learning students. How can we help students, support students? And that's what led me to getting my school counseling degree. Yeah. And then again, just along the way, other people who kind of influenced me and positioned me to kind of seek out additional degrees. And but one of the greatest was being a teacher and a school counselor, because knowing those student stories, especially now when you think about what students go through with social media and all the other things that are just coming at them nonstop, you got to know their stories. Yeah. Because, learning is important, but you can't get to the core of learning until you understand the stories that come into your classroom every day. Yeah. So.
Man, so many tangents I want to go on. Before we go too much further, I want to give a shout out to Megan Nivens-Tannant and She-Boss, because I heard you tell that story on her podcast, and I texted her yesterday and said, hey, that was a really good podcast. Hers are all good, but
they're so good.
It was good. And, and just to kind of set the stage for the viewer and the listener, my approach when I interview is to hopefully I don't want to repeat necessarily everything you all talked about. And I want to color in the lines of other aspects of it. But I also I also have to sit here and think, okay, here you are now in a different phase of life, right? You have a lot of life behind you, a lot of experience. What are those things that people can learn about kind of what you're doing now? Yeah. But also, I would imagine even where you came from, because you just touched on everyone has a story. They can judge you. Mm-hmm. They could say, well, nepotism, right? Christie only has this because her grandfather was, he was a principal, right? And,
yes.
And then your parents were both educators.
Right.
And you come from this family of it, right? Mm-hmm. And then, so there's this DNA that I think that's in you where you're just kind of describing about that compassion for other kids, and kind of, I don't know if you ever felt pressured to go into teaching, but at some point you have these experiences where you say, no, this is my calling in life, right?
That's right.
But did people, I wasn't planning to bring this up right away, but did people accuse you of nepotism or misjudged actually how hard you worked and how capable and smart you were to get where the places you went?
I think especially when you enter the role as a superintendent, people are going to come for you. Yeah. You're just you're there, right?
And you get to read it in social media.
Oh, yes, you do. Or go Google all the things. Right. But at the end of the day, you have to remind yourself, why do you do what you do? Right. You're not going to make everybody happy. I love what Nick Saban says. If you are making everybody happy, you want to be popular, go sell ice cream. At the end of the day, my job was to make sure students had what they needed, and so did teachers. Not every decision was popular, but I tried to make it in what was in the best interest of students. But going back to kind of how all this worked in the fields of education, third generation educator, which I'm very proud of. I actually went into college to be an engineer.
Right. At Auburn.
Mm-hmm. And I remember walking into one of my engineering classes, and it was just silent. I'm not a silent person. And I sat there and I was like, I can focus. I can do hard things. I can really focus on this one thing. And I was like, but I would really like to be able to talk to people in the classroom, see what they're thinking, There was none of that. So I walked into the dean's office, 18 years old. I mean, you think, I'm just going to walk in there and talk to this person. Yeah. But I will say, lovely person. And I said, I'm just going to walk over here to Haley Center. I really have engaged in this one class. It was a tech and civ class. And the professor just really spoke to me. It was a class of like 350 people, right? But he told stories.
You sat up front?
Some days. Okay. Yeah, some days, depending on the week and what happened the night before. Only good things, right?
Yeah.
And I was at the library, so studying. But
studying.
Yes.
By the way, she mentioned Kayla's in the studio.
Kayla.
Well.
Shout out to Kayla. She is. I'm the cheerleader for the best team ever. I know we're going to talk about that later, but I have the best team ever. But yeah, so I was like, I want to be in an environment where I feel engaged and hopefully I can make a difference in some way. I want to change my major. And they were like, no, you should really lean into chemical engineering. I'm like, is that going to really be different? And there
it's
are people
even harder.
Yeah. I think now today when you look at how people learn and different in the colleges, I think they're leaning in more to that collaboration, especially in design and the process of design. Working together, things like that. It's not in isolation necessarily. But at that time, I was like, this is just not for me. I knew that I was trying to kind of force that square peg into a round hole. And my feeling was, I want to be in the classroom. Now, my mom was an elementary teacher, and I was just kind of more geared toward, I like to debate, I like to talk, I want to engage. And so, poli-sci, economics.
But at what point in high school did you make this radical decision that you wanted to study engineering? Was it late in the game?
Kind of, yeah. Actually, it was a math teacher I had, and there's a whole story about my learning problems in math.
We'll get to that too.
But I had another great teacher at Bob Jones High School. Her name is Geraldine Weiler, Miss Weiler, and pretty much had her, it seemed like, for every math class at school. And she was just one of those who was just so passionate about making sure every student was able to learn it. And she would do whatever it took to make sure that you had mastered the standard and were ready to move on.
Okay.
So I just felt, that somebody had poured into me. That sounds something like I would love to do. Let me just do engineering.
Yeah.
But, paths take you a different way. And I ended up where what I needed to be doing was what I loved.
Okay.
So.
I'm gonna show you something now. I would normally save this segment for later.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna do it now.
Okay.
And you're going to like this.
All right.
Check out the screen. Over here.
Okay.
So what do you see there?
A beautiful lawn.
You love to cut grass.
Oh, man.
Right?
I would do anything to have cut that. And probably the nice mower that they used in the mower deck. Man, that is just insane. That is not my yard, by the way.
No, but then what comes to mind when you see that one? That looks like a baseball outfield to me.
Yeah, it does. It looks so good. That pattern is amazing.
Right? And do you look at this one?
Oh, yeah. That's good stuff.
Now, you have 4 acres that you mow, right?
That I mow.
Do you mow it like that, or is it the grass? I mean, that's probably more of a fescue or a bluegrass. But
yeah, I've got the thank God for weeds, kind of yard.
You just have to mow it.
That's right.
You're not putting pretty lines in it?
No. Now, I am a little particular about things. Now, my husband gets on to me because I like to cut it right now very low.
Yeah.
And I'm on my 3rd wheel on the mower deck in like 4 weeks.
Oh, wow.
So Tractor Supply loves to see me come in the John Deere place. I'm like, yeah, I'm back. And they're like, here we go. Here's your, the wheel. But I have to say that I got a new wheel on this past Sunday, and I did not make it fall off.
Okay.
So, but I missed a lot of weeds because I cut it high. Yeah.
Here's another one. And I love grass as well, and I love patterns.
That's amazing.
I kind of miss, I love living here.
Yeah.
Believe me. But I do miss my grass in Virginia.
Yeah.
We just have a little bit, you can do a little bit more of like the creative stuff
Sure.
in that kind of grass there than you can with
So
Bermuda.
let me ask you, what kind of mower did you have?
Well, I just had a normal, because I like to push, I like to exercise.
Okay.
No self-propel. It has
Okay.
self-propel. I don't use it.
Yeah.
I just have like a Honda because it
Yeah.
always starts.
Yeah.
Like I just mowed my
Right.
grass yesterday, my front yard
Yeah.
yesterday. Haven't touched a mower in a few months.
Yeah.
1 pole,
Nice.
right? And so
That's impressive.
Yeah, but like, your weed eaters and all that kind of stuff, that
Oh,
takes
yeah.
a lot.
It does.
But yeah, I've always just had a Honda push mower.
Yeah. Yeah.
I did cut grass when I was a senior, after my senior year, for like 2 months with a guy. You know what skag mowers are?
Oh.
Skag, they're like these orange. They're just commercial mowers, like 60-inch deck or 48-inch.
Right.
The 60-inch, you're like, you can ride on the little wheel on the back,
yes.
right?
Yeah.
We mowed these huge homes in Great Falls, Virginia. It'd take us hours, even with these big things. And
wow.
The first day, it actually ripped the grips, whatever you hold on to, just ripped the skin off my hands.
Oh no!
Because you're trying to get used to this, and they can just take off. But I've always loved
those are intense.
So here, this last one,
that's a nice one.
This is a little more of a residential, and there's a reason I kind of want to end on this one. First of all, let me ask you, I think you're a lot like me in the sense of you're probably excited to cut the grass. You're excited to have this chore to do. It's maybe you listen to music, maybe you don't. But do you get like dressed up for it? Like, is there a certain mode that you enter into?
Have you been talking to Kayla?
No, this is all intuition.
I do take pride in what I wear. No, it's just workout clothes.
Okay.
But not just any. It has to be a certain kind. And I typically wear the same thing. And is it a promo that I'm giving? If I get a shout out, are you going to get a little commission on it maybe? Or
I'd love a commission, but shout out all you want.
It's Lululemon.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, no, and that just happens to be what I have. But yeah, it's important, you know? But I like a pair of Birkenstocks. And I know that's probably not safe, but yeah.
Hey.
I mean, I do have to, dress it down
Did
just
you ever
a
go
little
through
bit.
like boots and jeans and a big buckle and all that kind of Caterpillar John Deere?
I mean, that's what my husband wants me to do because we also have a little thing called, not little thing, but rattlesnakes where we live.
Yeah.
And, when I start cutting up in the mountain, maybe sometimes I might kind of end up pulling both legs up and over just in case one decides to, double its trajectory of length and, come at me. So we have that as a problem.
Can I
sometimes.
tell you? These stories will pop in my mind.
Yeah.
And I hope you don't mind, but like one time we're cutting this lawn. I don't know if you know Great Falls, Virginia, but like this is like one of the most rich areas in all of like DC on the Virginia side, right?
Yeah.
So these are like these massive homes, and I was impressed that the guy I work for, like his dad helped him like get all these clients. So I'm like mowing this lawn one day, and they kind of lived on this corner, and they had this huge hill which was beautiful to do patterns in, and I see this like little Toyota truck, kind of coming down the street. Just as I'm about to finish that and go back that way. And then I something happened where I had to stop and pick something up, and I looked back and then the truck was gone. But there was no way based on the speed that he could have left the exit part of where did he go? So I stopped the mower and I go across the street and he had gone off the road down this 20-foot and I was like, you all right, man? This is before we had cell phones. This is 1994.
Yeah.
And it was just the weirdest thing.
Oh
and he's like,
gosh.
oh, man, I really appreciate you stopping.
Yeah.
Can you help me? I'm like, I'm not sure. I mean, if the homeowner's home and we don't have cell phones back then.
Oh, right. Yeah.
But it was like this thing I observed, where did that car go? And I just stopped the mower and, it was down. Then my boss showed up because he had gone to the store and he's like, what are you doing? I was
That's crazy. He just went over.
Yeah. He just went he wasn't texting because we didn't have phones, but he just went off the side and went down this ravine and you would have never known. But he would have crawled out. But my boss was like, go check it out, man. Anyway, little things like that flashed into my mind. So the reason I brought this up too was let's talk about the work ethic.
Yeah.
And let me preface it by saying this. I like your story because it's kind of what I thought life should look like when I didn't know any better. I'm 10 or 11 years old. I'm observing people in a career. You start out in your career and you get experience, you get education, you get more experience, and then you get all the way up to superintendent and you retire and now you're doing something different. But to me, that's kind of what I thought was everybody kind of followed this path.
Right.
But then also what shaped them, right? But then interesting thing about having a podcast is I interview all these people who have a very, very different story. They may have started doing this and they're doing this now. But I thought about and once you mentioned the grass cutting, and I think even you worked on a farm with your grandfather.
I did, yes.
Talk to me about just how much that kind of labor has made you into the woman you are.
Well, I just consider that a blessing. I loved being outside. I mean, but when you're 10 years old and it's 100 degrees and you're out there, we had to chop cotton, tromp cotton, or I, drive the cotton picker. it was, you complained at the time, like, oh, it's so hot, but you look back and you're like, wow, that's a treasure. Kids don't, our children didn't get to experience that. Although we kind of lease out our land and they plant soybean. One year they planted cotton. And I'm just very blessed that I was able to experience that, my sister and I. And I'll never forget my granddad. He was actually, his story's probably, I think, to me, more prolific than anything because he actually quit school in 6th grade.
Oh, wow.
And, started working. He had to work and would grow cotton out in Gurley, Alabama. And so on weekends we go and hang out with him and, learned how to drive a truck on the fly, the whole thing.
3 on a tree.
Yeah, right. 4 years old, driving a truck, and feeding the cows and doing all the things. And, I value that experience. I remember he would say, and I'll tell you what, he'd say, all right, girl, we're going to go work in the field today. And we'd get there, crack of dawn. And then my grandmother would come and bring us breakfast. Then she'd go back home and cook lunch. And we'd go back home in the evening and eat dinner. And she'd have all these 3 square meals kind of thing. And he'd say, if you work all day, I'm going to take you to the Moontown grocery store and you can get yourself an RC Cola and a moon pie. And I was like, man, that is the best pay ever. And I was like, I'm pretty sure now that that's against the fair, the Child Labor Act and all the things.
How much was that RC pie?
It was probably like $1, but it was so good. And then if we splurged, he might splurge and put peanuts. He was like, here's some peanuts. And we put it in the coat, in the RC Cola.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
And a moon pie.
It had to be banana, by the way.
The moon pie?
Yeah, for sure. Banana's ultimate.
Did you ever watch the Dukes of Hazzard?
100%. Just ended up talking about that last night with my husband.
Did you?
Yeah, the theme song.
Did you ever go to any of Cooter's garages, like his memorabilia stores?
No.
There's one in Gatlinburg.
Yeah.
And there's one in Sperryville, Virginia. So 25 years ago, my I guess so, because my oldest is 26 now. He was like, I don't know, 8 months old. Mm-hmm. And Sperryville for us was 50 miles away. I'm going to tie this together. And we find out Daisy, in a way to kind of keep their celebrity going, because a lot of them that was a thing. And Ben Jones, Cooter, just decided a long time ago, like, this is it for me, like as an actor.
Yeah.
And he collected all the memorabilia for that show, everything. And then he opened these shops so that the people who later on, when it becomes a cult following, if you will, more so the diehard fans, they could come and check out this merchandise and stuff. And he had replica General Lees and stuff like that. So he would do these signings, have Roscoe come, have Daisy come. He had a bluegrass band because he was a congressman in Georgia.
That's right.
Right?
I forgot about
Remember
that. Yes.
I think it was a short stint.
Yes. That's right.
But he was.
Yeah,
and so after he was the congressman, he opens this thing up.
Yeah.
Well, we're like, should we go? Daisy's going to be there on Saturday. Like, no one's going to be there, right? Like, it can't be. The show's like, 30 years old.
Yeah.
So we go, and it's like, oh my gosh. Every hillbilly in Kentucky, Tennessee, wherever that had a General Lee was there.
Showed up.
Oh, yeah. And they all had there was like orange everywhere. These cars are just all these replicas. And then they're playing music. And then you stand in the line for Daisy for hours to get her autograph. I mean, these people, they thought the show was real.
Yeah,
they have pictures like, Cooter, we was down in Georgia and we think we saw your Uncle Timmy's house. Remember that? And he's like, the show was shot in California, like in the Warner Brothers lot, except for like season 1. But like you can believe that all you want.
That's awesome.
But the thing was, like, the line was so long, but it was $1 for a moon pie and an RC Cola.
Yes.
And you couldn't find RC Cola.
Best snack.
Like most, everyone
cannot.
like, what is this? Like,
right?
It's like moonshine for soda, I guess. It's hard to find.
It was so good. It's probably, now after I thought about it, it's probably just like so sweet, that I'm thinking he probably was like, I'm going to get sugared up and you're going to go work some more. That's what's going to happen.
We met him. My wife had to cut in line to meet Daisy because it was so long, and she used the infant. Hey, my son.
Oh, right.
And we
well
took
played,
pictures.
well
but
played.
he's a nice guy, and he plays the part. But he's looking at these people like, you guys are like, look, this is my fan base.
That's awesome.
Like
but hey, Friday night.
It was great. Yeah.
That was the best show.
That's right. Right after, before Dallas.
Before Dallas, followed by Falcon Crest.
Falcon Crest, yeah.
Yes.
This is not her.
No.
You're too young for all this, right?
Kayla, you're just going to have to go watch those shows. It was so good.
Yeah. And then the A-Team was on, too. Did you watch the A-Team?
Oh, for sure.
B.A. Baracus.
How about Dynasty and Knots Landing? Did you watch any of those?
I don't know if No, I don't know if they were like they weren't macho enough or
Oh
something.
man, to be Alexis Carrington, I think was her name.
Yeah.
Like she was everything.
Yeah.
You know, the Carringtons.
Man, Friday nights, yeah.
But Dallas.
And you only had 4 channels.
Right. And then it went off at like, was it 11:30 or midnight?
For us in the Eastern, it was 8 to 9. I don't know when
yeah.
they showed it down here.
Yeah,
And Dallas started at 9.
Yeah, it was 8 our time.
Yeah.
And then
same thing.
And then Fantasy Island was Saturday night. Love Boat was before that, right?
Oh my gosh, yeah. This is fun.
That's right.
We should do an all 80s, 90s, 70s thing.
Let's do it. I'll come back.
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Okay, so where were we? Work ethic and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like how you can chase a squirrel because I'm with you.
Yeah, I mean,
100%.
So you mentioned this is another point I wanted. So your grandpa quit school.
Mm-hmm.
Did he have to go back later when he went down the path of being an educator and administration?
So that is my dad's side of the family.
Okay.
My grandfather, the one that was a principal, did go into college, and he
different grandfather.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, in those days, he was like the principal, a teacher, a coach, the custodian, in the school. You were all the things. And I believe he was in Madison Crossroads, and then went to Owens Crossroads. So that's when everything was like county, and you could even choose the school you went to back in the day. Yeah, and so then he retired from that, and actually he and his brothers owned the cotton gin that was in Gurley.
Oh.
So he was kind of on the business side, a little bit farming also, because he owned Dairy Farm, which is where McMullen Cove is. That was his land, and then he sold it off. So that still, some of that still stands out there. Some of the equipment.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Let me explore this, and some of this is now it applies to. This is more of a kind of conversational sense of, hey, what are your thoughts on this? But this will definitely apply to the parent involvement, if you will, in society today, and then their comments and their thoughts towards education. But I find education interesting where there's certain fields, it's non-negotiable. You know, like you probably don't want to have surgery done if the person hasn't gone to medical school. Right. They shouldn't be there unless they've been certified.
Sure.
Maybe a lawyer, those types of things. Maybe Aaron Brockovich, that type of thing is a slightly different case. I don't know. But and then even education, right? I can't just go be a teacher. I mean, yes, I guess I could, but like if I have a bachelor's, I have a master's, but does the school even going to accept me?
Actually, they are now.
Well, they
okay.
Yeah. Don't ruin my point.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. But you still want it to be. I would have to do some learning,
sure, some
adapting, if you will.
Right.
But then somehow it seems like, and I kind of always looked at that lens, and the same thing I was talking about, like your progression in your career, that there needs to be some sort of education or schooling, so that if someone disagreed with you, it's they could at least call attention to the fact that you went down this route.
Right.
Now, I think what we're seeing in our society lately is sometimes people can go, or there's this expectation. So let's now look at something where they don't seem to apply that same standard. Maybe politics, right? Anybody can just now like, hey, I want to get elected.
Sure.
And like, what about there's a negative thing on the career politician. But now we have these politicians like, Taylor Swift for president. Well, she's a singer.
Right.
Is she going to be a good president?
Yeah.
Like, do we really think that, and I'm not saying she couldn't, but like what happened to like this progression, this building, maybe the career politician is a little more polished because they learned some decorum and some behavior along the way or whatnot, and how to maybe divide it. Yeah. And there seems to be a lot of, like that. So then what happens is, in my observation is, and the parents are so critical of the teachers and the administrators and stuff. And you're like, but this is kind of their profession.
Right.
And if you feel like you can just come in and do a better job, that's not really the way this works. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And and I'm sure it's hard now, you can say it because you're retired, but like, a frustration that you had where like everyone just assumes that we're not doing it the right way or the perfect way. And they have the answer.
Yeah, I think I feel like there was a big shift, and listen, it was tough. I mean, referencing COVID, right? When everything shut down and parents had to become teachers and all this. And I think there was a shift in, well, first of all, I want to thank all the parents that had to, to become teachers, and especially those who had the littles, as we call them, that have to teach their children how to read, and they're first graders, or how to access all this online. And I'm also over here trying to do my job at home too, or whatever. So I don't know if that was part of this whole shift in narrative with a lot of the crosshairs on education. But we saw that. We felt that. Our teachers felt that. And then you started seeing, I don't know if it was a result of more questions, and parents, reaching out or not reaching out, and teachers becoming just frustrated. And then we see them leaving the field of education. And now we see a lot of students that are in college not going into education. So we have this teacher shortage, right? It's not just here locally. It's not state of Alabama. It's nationwide. So there's this whole pivot where they're looking at, different ways of kind of increasing awareness for anyone with engineering degrees, or veterans now can go and actually be classroom teachers. Because I think there's something to be said about experience that they could then impart on children. That to me is, you didn't go through the methods classes or practicums and things like that, but some of your experiences can make you just as, effective in the classroom too. So I'm glad that our State Department is really looking at different avenues to really open doors for people who have that passion and compassion to be a teacher. So I'm hoping's not an action, but I do hope that we'll see more people take advantage of that. I know that I just got a text that retirees are now going to get like a little bonus, or, some type of raise in their check. We don't know how much that is. But, it'd be nice to see, too, that if there's retirees out there that want to get back into education, if there's, they're raising the salary to some extent, you can't come fully out of retirement, and you can only earn up to a certain threshold. But beyond that, that messes up your retirement, right? But there's some people who are still out there, you retire after 25 years, you're still could be, in your early 50s. You want to come back to the classroom, just, giving more opportunities to not only, fill the shortage, but also really making sure that you're getting people who want to be in the classroom, because that's where that's their passion, know. But I think that, having these different ways and different avenues to allow people who maybe didn't get a 4-year degree in education, that's my whole other soapbox. Does 4 years mean you're going to be, a great teacher? I think experiences and having mentors that, positioned you along the way that make you an effective teacher. I think that's important, making sure that we can retain those in the classroom, that experience piece. That first year is hard for anybody, probably in any job, right?
Oh, yeah.
Especially as a classroom teacher. So how are we not only making sure that we can fill the gaps and the shortages, but also retain the ones that are in the classroom now and really pour into them? Now, that goes back to, I know your question was about the parental piece. I think that there's also options for parents now, too. The CHOOSE Act is among them, where parents can now, if you don't want to go into public education where your child's zoned, you can use the monies that are available and seek private school or homeschool or different options. So I think that, we're kind of balancing how to meet what parents are asking for.
Yeah.
But also ensuring that there's, opportunities for people who want to work in public education as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm one of those people. This is not, my show is not it's not a political show. Like because I'm one of those people that I can see really good merits and positives on like both sides of an argument.
Yeah.
Sure. If one said, you should not have homeschooling and all that, like, okay, from what lens do you have that opinion? Because maybe all your siblings did really well.
Yeah,
and then maybe do you change your mind when you actually have a child that is now maybe on the spectrum or something?
That's right.
and they're not going to handle it well. And all of a sudden you change your position. So I never really take a hard line on something unless I really feel it really aligns with, my beliefs or just my real world experience.
That's right.
Right.
I mean, parents are they're their child's advocate, right? And they know their child best and what what's best for their child.
Yeah.
And I think there's a good balance there. I'm with you. I think that, I'm a big believer in public education. I'm a product of public education. My children are too. But I also know that there are different children with different needs, and now there's choices. And I think that's a good thing.
I was this weird kid where it's I'm not going to go into it all, but like the way I grew up. But I lived with my grandparents for like most of my elementary school, and I just loved to be at school.
Yeah.
And I think I was just so happy. Like I would stay after for like the after school program, where it was kids that are, they're rather than being a latchkey kid because you're too young and your parents are at work and they come pick you up. I would just stay to play. And they're like, are your parents coming? Like, I'm just going to walk home. Like my grandparents were like, why are you here? I just want to be here. Like, I just like it here. I like to play. I just always liked school, and I liked what it offers. And now I look at high schools, and I'm just so amazed at like, and not every high school does this, but they kind of open it up as like an asset for the community. Open up the track, use the fields if you want. Clean up, leave no trace, but use it as well. And you're amazed at like high school is like a little city, and just and all that goes on and stuff. But it's I've just always appreciated that service that it provides your kids and the public.
Yeah, I think that's kind of going back to the Madison area and Huntsville, even Madison County. That a lot of our schools are community schools. They're built within a community, whether it's a Blossomwood or Montesano or Heritage. Right across
These
the
are all
street,
her favorites,
right?
by the way. She's
yes.
written,
But that is, I think that says a lot. That they see that school as a safe place, a community space, like you were saying, and I think that's important. Even the high schools, right? That that it's just
and it
kind of becomes part of like the family.
And it makes it hard. And I'm sure as an educator, right? And you saw both of it. You went through school, and then now you're an educator for your whole career. Sometimes it's hard to wrap your brain around those that just didn't have a good experience.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, did you try? Did you try to make friends? But it's like, but I also realized like I can't. Sometimes you just can't process.
Yeah. I think it goes back to knowing the student stories too.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what they're bringing with them, what happened when they got home, or what they're seeing online, social media, all those things. I just can't imagine. Well, I can imagine what students in 2026 are going through versus what we experienced in the 80s, because we didn't have all the things coming at us, quickly and all the things. So
let me ask you, I want to somewhat transition into what you're doing now, but
best job ever.
Yeah. One thing that I know that I've interviewed Rachel Sullivan, who's good friends with Megan. She owns Solid Ground Counseling. I've interviewed, a lot of people that kind of touch on mental health, and it's good. Rachel's in particular one where I've learned that mental health is also a positive thing. We all have a state of mental health, positive or negative, but it gets a negative connotation. And so with that, I've also just been thinking about like ego, and like sometimes ego I think is looked at as like always this negative thing, but like I think ego is an important aspect to how we feel about ourselves, and it's not necessarily you're an egomaniac or never, but we all want to feel good and be told good job. Have you found it difficult as you transitioned into away from being a superintendent, away from being an employee of the city and the state, I guess, do you miss the ego boost in a way that gave you that position, that title, that authority that came with, and the responsibility came with that job?
What I miss are the people. Because I worked in that system for a long time, and that's what I miss most.
Do you miss them asking for help and like being able to provide, kind of that missing piece that they needed, and you could see the difference it made? Yeah,
I think I'd kind of tie it to this current role, because part of Leadership Greater Huntsville is about servant leadership. And I really think in education, you are a servant leader, or you should be.
Yeah.
And I felt that way as a superintendent. It's not about me. It's about being in the schools, having conversations with your custodians, your school nurses, your secretaries, your nurses, all the people, the teachers. What do they need? So if it was feeding my ego is making sure that they had what they need.
Yeah.
So I miss the people.
And I don't want to characterize it like you're trying to feed your ego. But I think the reality is sometimes do you miss, like, for example, we hired a guy out of the FBI that was an assistant director. He had a car.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, you do know when you retire and you start with us, you can drive your regular car. I don't even know what regular car you have. And not everyone's going to know who you are and kiss your butt. And, you know, because you are who you are, but you also have the position. Like if you were to go back to like a meeting now and just have to sit on the back bench and super, like, you know, do you kind of miss that? Like just the cachet.
I miss my friends. They were my friends. I think I still talk to, and Kayla knows, on the daily, I talk to Ed Nichols. Because when you become in that role, when you become a superintendent, I mean, the buck stops with you.
Yeah.
And you're kind of, are you on an island? Is anybody there with you? So my husband would hear it when I got home, and, you know, good, bad, ugly, indifferent, all the things. But I knew I could call my fellow superintendents, you know, still talk to him today. The Alan Perkins, the Robbie Parkers, you know, the Ed Nichols of the world, Bill Hopkins, all the folks. I miss that. There's a camaraderie there. I think it's almost like your own little fraternity, if you will. And more so because that you can call them and know that they're going to be honest with you, give a feedback. Because if you're having to make some kind of decision that could change, well, at the end of the day, any decision you make is going to be some type of change, whether it be like, you know, good, popular, unpopular, that you could call these people and they're just going to be just honest. So I miss that. And I see them, you know, we get to chat, catch up and all the things. But it's one of those, it's a tough job. And, I guess what I miss about it most, it wouldn't be, you know, if I see him today and I sat on the back row, I'm good with that, because I still know I have the relationships with the people that are still there, you know. But I miss that camaraderie, and I miss just the people that in a school district that I worked for over 20-something years, you know, those relationships still mean a lot to me. And I don't really need a title to keep in touch with them, you know. Yeah, sure. So. It wasn't about a title, because I kind of call myself the accidental superintendent. That was not on my bingo card. And I was interim and enjoyed it. And I thought, okay, I'm just going to go back over there, become, you know, back to being a deputy and being that person who helps the superintendent in the seat. So, but I was superintendent and over 5 years. And I hope I left a little bit better, you know. But yeah, I do miss the relationships that I made. Yeah.
Let me set up this next point by asking you, rather than me just summarize it, because I heard you say it, the story on the teacher that helped you with like math and subtraction, and the time and attention she gave to you. Could you kind of retell that story?
Sure.
And then I'll use that to transition into the next topic.
Yeah. So I guess I'll just start as, you know, kindergarten, first grade. Developed a love for reading. You know, reading chapter books in kindergarten. But would find myself just at, you know, any given time once we, you know, transitioned to the math lesson, can I run an errand? Can I step out? Can I do whatever? Because I just wanted to avoid it. I wasn't a fan of it. Didn't understand it at the end of the day. What we call like computational fluency, right? So in second grade, one of the standards was really, you're introduced to change and money and what a penny means. And of course, a penny means nothing now, right? Or a nickel and a dime, all the things. Then in second grade, you start understanding, okay, if you're given a dollar bill, how many quarters is this, right? How many dimes would it take to equal a dollar, et cetera? And I just could not understand that concept. But I was a very compliant child. So if you're sitting up front and you know, just sit quietly, you know, you're gonna do well, right? You're gonna get to move to the next grade. But in second grade, you know, I just could not understand the concept. And the teacher asked me to come to the back table, and back in the 1970s, the manipulatives they gave you would be those paper coins, right?
Probably had to cut them out yourself too, right?
Yes. Yeah. It's funny, I did. And, you know, we didn't have air conditioning back in the day. And so the teacher, you know, she says, we're about to go to recess, but you're going to stay in the class. So, which was, you know, an embarrassing moment, right? So all my friends are headed outside, and we had those pop-up windows where you turn the knob and it pops in, you know what I'm talking about. So I could hear my friends out there playing, and I'm sitting there, and I have these paper coins in my hand. It's 100 degrees, feels like, in the classroom, but I'm just so embarrassed and all the things, that the paper coins just kind of wither away, right? Anyway, so still difficult, moved to third grade, past third grade, well, move into third grade. And I had a little medical setback, which required me not to be able to go to PE. And the teacher that I had in third grade, her name's Miss Burwell. Typically during PE, that's when elementary teachers have their planning period. It's like 30 minutes, And instead, she stayed in there with me, and she asked me to pass papers out to the different groups. So if it was a bluebird group, a redbird group, she would say, go put 8 at this table, 5 here, 6 here. Did that, And she said, I was wrong. I only need 6 here where you put out 8, 3 here. Can you go and pull those out for me? Mm-hmm. And then tell me how many you have left. I'm like, 2, And she said, yeah. Well, she was teaching me how to do math, right? And so she continued to work with me, fill the gaps, and I was able to then master, the next thing is multiplication, division, and then you get ready for fractions for the end of third grade, first to fourth grade. So had it not, she was my change maker. I always kind of play on words that I couldn't make change, but in third grade, she did make a change in my life. And that was another kind of point throughout my life of someone who, again, poured into me and learned my story, and also, learned that I had a learning disability at the end of the day. But I would go back and, kind of fast forward the night.
Real quick, before you go too far.
Okay.
Did you have like parent-teacher conferences? Did your parents know? Was it known that like were you telling them I'm struggling with math, or you just kind of felt like I'm just dumb?
No, and I love my mom. My mom taught at the school I went to.
Yeah.
But kind of in those days,
sure,
it was.
I wouldn't have said anything.
No, I know I didn't. Yeah. I was like, I'm gonna just sit here quietly, do what I need to do. I did go visit another teacher who worked with students that had maybe some learning issues, and loved that classroom. I was like, I love this. I'm getting, one-on-one time. But it was really Miss Burwell who made the change, because I needed to have that manipulative. I need to touch it. I need to understand it. I need to see it. I need to hear it, right? So we know more about learning styles now, but early on in the 70s, we really didn't, right? But she saw those, and those skills, or what she used, are the same type of teaching and delivery that we want our teachers to do too.
Gotcha.
And they do. To be able to, teachers have so many things they have going on, and they have to be all the things to students. But, when you lean in and you're able to really drill down what that student's learning issue is and fill it in, it was a game changer for me,
Did that, because I can relate, and one of my biggest regrets in life is I never asked enough questions growing up. Mm-hmm. I felt like I've learned everything as an adult, and I didn't really have to be that way. I'm not saying I regret my career necessarily, anything like that, but like, I don't know. I just wasn't curious enough. Did that experience help you to ask questions later, ask for help if there was something else, whether not necessarily it's a learning disability, but just anything in life where you're like, you know what? I should just ask for help, and there's probably somebody who can help me. Yeah,
I think I was still the quiet child.
Okay. Compliant,
want to do the right thing. But there were teachers along the way that they would put us into groups. One in particular, I'll never forget, Barbara Turner, great science teacher at Bob Jones High School, taught biology, human anatomy. But we were always in the lab because we were doing that hands-on stuff. Mm-hmm. And she would walk around. Favorite thing she would say is, that ain't worth 2 dead flies. I'll never forget that. And she would say, now, freshmen, don't put the cart before the horse. Especially when we're like about to dissect a pig. And we're all just like, and she's like, nah, you ain't worth 2 dead flies. I'll never forget that. But she would constantly walk around, right? It's just, and then just ask those questions. Yeah. And engaged. You felt, absolutely, you're actively engaged. And it's easier to ask a question when she's walking around in front rather than in a classroom of 35. But I think as I've gotten older, now I'm 55, about to be 56. I'm kind of I don't care, and I'm going to ask. Sure. It's not to hurt your feelings, but I just don't understand. I need some clarification.
So let's pull on that thread. So kind of going back to what we were talking about, you transitioned from being teaching into administration. Was there a time, because you're not going to know everything.
No,
there's no
right.
job out there that, like, when that person, like, let's say leaves a job, you're never going to interview someone and hire someone that can do exactly like that
That's
person, right? Like,
right.
So some of those duties may go to this person or that person, or it's going to take a while to ramp up. And I think similarly, you have an aptitude to learn, you have the skills, you have the experience, and let's see what Christie does. But did you have some uncomfortable moments in administration, or where you were like, man, I'm going to really, like, I need to do some of my own study. I need to do some asking because I'm a little weak in this area.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I majored in secondary education, right? So all I'd known was working with 17, 18, I taught 12th grade, 17, 18-year-olds, right?
Yeah.
Then when I became a school counselor, I pivoted and went to an elementary school. And, I had littles that were hugging my knees, and I'm like, what is happening here, right? Working the car line, and, they're crying. The kindergartners don't want to get out of the car. And I'm like, we have to go to school. And they're like, I
hate school. I hate this place.
Why do I have to come back? But I was like, I got to learn. I mean, I know how to do counseling, but I don't understand these littles. Had a great principal, right? So again, I was like, I'm going to watch what she does. And she told me, she was like, go in the classrooms, go watch what the teachers are doing, ask the questions, learn their curriculum, and I did that, So I had guidance classes in my office, but then I would go in and just visit, right?
Yeah.
And ask teachers, tell me more about this and your reading series and how you blah, blah, blah. So here we go. And I fell in love with elementary. And then along the way, of course, I got my admin degree and became an elementary assistant principal. But it was all about being in the classroom. And,
Sure.
I always think, learn by doing. That's how students learn. And that's how I learned. And if you want to be a great administrator, to me, you got to be in the classroom. You've got to be visible. You got to ask those questions, because the people who know all the things are the ones teaching in the classroom.
But what happens when you become a superintendent? Now it's like, oh, we've got budgets and we've got expenses, and like we've got to, apply for a grant, or like we're getting sued, or, like, I'm sure that was also like a little bit like. And
that was on the daily.
I bet, right? I think I found a few affidavits online. Like, I'm like, oh my goodness. Like,
oh no, look, I'm going to start having the. I'm sure you did.
No judgment, but I'm just saying that's part of the job, though,
absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
Like, a little bit of not, I guess there's people that take issue with fake it till you make it, but we all have to kind of do that.
There was a lot. There was a big learning curve there, and I will tell you, I was given the opportunity to work in the district office and sit around and learn from other cabinet members, the CFO at the time, and the director of elementary, and the director of secondary, and we would learn together. We actually kind of put in a position where we all were learning together, because we started going through the whole consent order process, and or what was going to be the joint consent order between Huntsville City Schools and the Department of Justice. So that's when you have to lean in and say, I need to know what the budget is for the whole district, but more importantly, not just secondary education or whatever department you are in. You needed to know all the things, because they all cross over, right?
Yeah.
Especially in the consent order. And I know that's a whole nother subject, but so I guess I was just fortunate to be in positions that I think we were a very collaborative cabinet for the most part in Huntsville City Schools when I was director of secondary education, and then over strategy and innovation, that, learning what others are doing, because it all works together.
Yeah.
So, and then also when you became a superintendent, I was like, I need to meet with these people one-on-one. Tell me what you're doing. Let them lead. You can say all the things, but no, you've got those people in positions to be the leaders. I can be your facilitator, but this is a job, you know it best.
Yeah.
My operations guy, my head of security, all these people, let them lead.
I think you retired on a Friday, right? End of May.
Yeah, it was. It
was
was
a
like
Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah, see, very good. I
was watching a news clip, and it was like May 24th, and it was like, this Friday's Christie's last day, and I was like, that's Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah.
Did you have a song queued up on the radio, like, or on your playlist as you left, like,
did I?
Kool and the Gang celebration or something, where you're like, how does Christie leave the parking lot when she retires and they've gave her a lunch and all these accolades and gifts.
Well,
and off she goes.
I don't even remember what I listened to. It was weird. I mean, that's just something I'd done every day, and
did you cry at some point? Did you miss it?
Oh yeah. I mean, that Tuesday, I was like, so what now? What do I do?
Yeah.
I was up still at the crack of dawn, and my husband's like, "Where are you going?" And I'm like, "I don't know what to do." So for about 2 weeks, it was cleaning out the closets and organizing all the things around the house, and kind of filled the summer, right? But I'll never forget the first day of school. It was weird, But then I kind of leaned into Pilates, and then I become the person who was like, on my way to work, or on my way to Pilates, I called my husband at work. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this school traffic is just," he was like, "You're the one who made the change. Don't you remember?"
What's Mayor Battle doing? Fix this traffic.
He was like, "That was Christie Finley, superintendent, that made the late start for high schools." But anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a big transition. I think that kind of goes back to, you were asking me the question about, the ego part of superintendent. Was not that it was an ego thing, but I mean, that's just what you've done for over 30 years, is that you go to school, and the word, who are you now?
Yeah.
Who are you now? Right. And that's, I think I lasted a couple weeks in retirement, literally, and then did some consulting.
Yeah. So let's transition into leadership Greater Huntsville.
Yeah.
And this kind of goes back to what I was saying. Like, I don't know what the qualifications are for that job, but you basically were acting as a CEO when you're a superintendent. And when I was asking about your weaknesses, like, okay, who are my strong? What are you good at? What are you good at? Great. I'm weak at that. I trust you.
Absolutely.
I have to make certain decisions, but I'm not going to do that until I've got a pretty good idea. I've got a good consensus on what the group thinks. What was that interview process like? Do you know how many other people applied?
I didn't. So I actually went through one of our programs is Flagship, which is like C-suite.
And you went through that, right?
I did. I was
with Megan?
L35. Yes, we were the best class ever.
That's what they
right.
all say.
Kayla Clark Haynes, we were.
Were you 35 as well?
No. But she was working there, and I sat on the bus with you. Remember, it was like Public Safety Day. You can speak. In fact, she's my partner in crime. So yeah, L35. Now we were also in my class was Ed Nichols.
Oh yeah,
right. Mm-hmm. So we had a lot of fun. We say that there are bus rules now because of us. Yeah. Sometimes educators out in the wild. But I will tell you, so that was a great class. Fast forward, there was an opening. I was not aware of it. Some of my classmates actually called and were like, "Hey, there's an opening for CEO at Leadership Greater Huntsville." I'm like, "What? You should apply." And I'm like, "They're not going to hire me. I mean, what am I doing?" And they were like, "Oh, you should apply." So literally, I remembered, I think I submitted my application on the last day, the day it closed. And because I was like, I'm just not, they're not going to want me, all the things. I'm just I'm retired, blah, blah, blah. I started having that self-talk in my head. And so I got a call for an interview. I'm like, okay. They were like, it's going to be a 2-step process. You'll first interview with this committee, and then following that, we'll call you back for a second one, and there'll be some staff on there. I was like, okay.
This is like the board of directors?
Yes. Yeah, the board of directors, right. And so I believe it was I think it closed in May, and then I waited for what seemed like a month. I think it was July. Kayla, does that sound right? It was yeah. And I went through the first interview, and I'm like, because they asked me, one of the questions was, so why do you think you could do this job? And I said, here's the thing. It's not about me. It's about the team in place. Just like I was a superintendent, I trust them. I want to let them lead. How I can support. That's what, to me, a job of a CEO is. And I said, but here's the other thing about me. If you like the way things are, then I'm not your person. But if you want me to come in, kind of look around, what are some ideas, some things we can do, not change for the sake of change, but to build capacity with the staff, to look at other opportunities of pushing out in our community, then maybe give me a shot. And I got in the car and I called my husband. I was like, I think I put the hay down where the goats can eat it, and they're not going to call me back. He said, but you're honest. I'm like, well, I feel like that's what they deserve. So I did get a call back, and at this point there was a staff member in there, and actually it's Sam Cooper. And I was looking around the room, and I knew most of the people in the room except for her. And I can say this, I hope she's not going to be upset, but she had this look, and I was like, and she was just kind of like sitting there. I was like, oh gosh, this gal with the blonde hair does not like me, and I don't know why. But then I was like, but I like how she's kind of looking like, I can't figure out. I think I like her, And so I still share that with her that, and she's dynamic, so I give her a hard time about that. But yeah, so I ended up getting the opportunity to work with the best team ever. Yeah.
So if you could, well, here's one thing again, I'm going to tie back. I think there's several people that I've interviewed that are Huntsville natives.
Yeah. There's not many of us, it feels
there's
like
not many,
anymore.
but I'm trying to think. Cynthia, and I hate when I can't remember their names, but at the National Children's Advocacy Center, I can't remember her name, interviewed her. Like Joey Cece's been, David Anderson from Invariant, and I'm sure there's others. Mm-hmm. But the one thing I've really enjoyed is some of them are nonprofits and whatnot, but like in the 80s, and because Leadership Greater Huntsville is this year 40 years old.
Yeah, 40
right?
years.
And
so exciting.
Well, so is I think National Children's Advocacy just hit their 40 year. And it's been fun to hear these stories of, like you're talking about earlier in your career of the kid in the hoodie who's homeless. Mm-hmm. Those services didn't exist.
That's right.
Back in Huntsville at those times.
That's right.
If it existed now, you've got First Stop, you've got Shower Up, you've got all these things that have sprung up. The National Children's Advocacy Center is now a thing, mm-hmm. and there was all this. There were these thought leaders in Huntsville that could say we need this or we need that. And so I thought that was an interesting parallel, and just kind of hearing about the legacy of Leadership Greater Huntsville and all how it goes back, and maybe all those leaders kind of went and in class 1 or 2 or whatever it might be.
Right. Yes.
But could you kind of give that overview speech of what Leadership Greater Huntsville is? Because I'm one of those people. If I go on a site, I don't know how to summarize all this.
That's
like,
right.
What is your pitch, if you will, to someone?
Sure. So, a lot of people say, well, when I Google leadership, because I want to take a leadership class in Huntsville, and Leadership Greater Huntsville, pops up. We're not that. We're really we're a servant leadership organization, mm-hmm. where our mission is to inspire and ignite empowered leaders through education, collaboration, and stewardship. So those are our pillars. And the education piece is more about our programs, where we push you out into the community, kind of get a behind the scenes or behind the curtain look at our nonprofits, at our the Arsenal and the Post, right? Redstone Arsenal. Looking at our healthcare systems, looking at public education, private education, all the things. So it's really about curated experiences, mm-hmm. with the ultimate kind of goal that comes out of this organically is the networking component, and how then you give back, and someone who's gone through these programs, can make an impact in our community. The stewardship piece. When you walk away from a program day, and I'll just, when I went through class 35, I was hesitant when I went in, and I'm embarrassed to say this. I say this all the time. Kayla knows the story. I've lived here all my life. What am I going to learn about this community,
They can't teach me nothing.
No, I know everything. That's bad. Because every day I walked away going, I cannot believe I didn't know this. This would be great for our students. This would be great for, all the resources that we have that we could have been doing or taking advantage of, or our students could take advantage of. So that's what the precipice of what we do is. But more importantly, it's the volunteers that make the organization work. Have a great staff that facilitate our programs. But if it wasn't for the volunteers who've been through our programs that then just turn around and pour back in, we wouldn't be able to exist.
Yeah. Can I tie something to that real quick?
Yeah.
Huntsville City is Blue Ribbon, right? Blue Ribbon schools?
Yes, there are some. Mm-hmm.
There are some. Okay. Is part of that kind of from your optic as a superintendent on, hey, what else can I learn? Like our school, mm-hmm. Already has the highest honor or the highest grade you can give it. What else can we do better? You just said you're over strategy and innovation. Mm-hmm. What's there to innovate? We're already we're the biggest city in the state, and we're humming along.
Right.
Does that kind of like feed into that in a way where your eyes are open to like, oh my goodness,
There's
like,
much more you
we
can
could
do.
be better than even our blue ribbon status.
Oh, absolutely. I think that, well, if you sit and you're like, okay, we're good. And you don't continue to ask, what can we do differently and what can we do better? Then everybody's going to pass you by, right? Whether it be blue ribbon school status, what can you do next? What's the next level of work? Or just even in our own programs, we have after action reviews. What worked well, what didn't work well? Or what does our surveys tell us that those the students in your programs, our class participants say? Like, it's important to hear their voice and make sure that they have a seat at the table. And the same goes for our volunteers too. You always gotta look at how you can make things better, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's kind of, you're just become average. And I feel like my philosophy is average is over. It's not the standard.
Yeah.
You want to make their experiences, like the next class that comes through Leadership Greater Huntsville, better than the one that's in there now. And I think even the people who are in our class now that will be volunteers, maybe on our steering committee next year, want that for them. And I think that says a lot. They've been through the class and they were like, man, we could have done this. Well, let's put that in our program for next year, for the next class.
What are some things that we can absolutely attribute to your contribution since you've taken over?
Oof. I know. Look at Kayla. I don't think it's what I've done. It's what we've
through your leadership
collectively done.
That's what I meant, right?
Yeah.
Like under your leadership.
It would be a couple of new initiatives we have. When I did interview, I mentioned that I'm very passionate about leaning into our first responders, especially during COVID. If it hadn't been every day, right? They're the backbone of how our city runs, how our region runs. A new program we're having that we're rolling out is called Pulse. It's for our first responders. That's law enforcement, that's healthcare, that's educators, and it'll be a 3-day program in June 9th, 10th, and 11th, and it will be free. So we brought all the leaders of each organization around the table this summer and said, hey, we want to do this. I think it's the right thing to do. We want them to have that same experience like our flagship class does. That's going to be jam-packed for 3 days, but they're going to see all the things because they should and have that opportunity. Where if you're on the front line or you're working third shift, whatever, right, you might not have the opportunity to come through our 10-month programs. So that's one thing. And I'll have to say we've got sponsors that have poured into this so it can be a free program.
Nice.
So shout out to our sponsors. And the other is a Lead On Summit. So I did mention, that we're really more of, if you were to Google, I want to learn how to be a better leader. That's not what our program is, but we're building out another side of the house called Lead Greater, where we can push out and offer professional development training programs to, like, we worked with Mazda Toyota just this last week, the Bold Agency. Shout
out to Lauren Goins.
Yes.
Episode 19 on the show.
Hey, and Kayla did a training with them.
Hey,
Kayla is our DISC expert. So just really kind of giving them some experiences that maybe if they can't take 10 months, that we can do little blips of trainings. But one thing that's come out of Lead Greater is our Lead On Summit. That's going to be this summer. And part of that is we'll have 2 keynotes. It's July 23rd, 2 keynotes. We have Jimmy Uri, who's a Nashville songwriter. It's going to kick off the day. And we'll end it with Ed Byers, who is a Medal Honor recipient. So we're kind of leaning into the arts and entertainments of Huntsville and the area, and then our military as well, right? And then throughout that day, we'll have some breakout sessions with our local leaders and other nonprofits who will be doing some leadership training as well. So any money raised from that, we want to really be able to offset any financial barriers for someone who might want to be in our program, that we want to kind of really lean into the tuition assistance, which we already offer, but then maybe some full scholarships for veterans who served and for first responders for our programs moving forward. So, is
that as a result of like the feedback you were getting from your participants, or what does the feedback look on and the other things that they want you all to incorporate?
So this was just some ideas that I shared out when I actually interviewed.
Okay.
And we, it's not, listen, I didn't create these ideas. The Pulse one, yes, I will say the team came up with the name. And then we started just like brainstorming ideas, but leaning into other organizations around the nation too, working together. stealing ideas from one another, right? Or just sharing ideas. Leadership Louisville is one that we've worked with as well as Leadership Austin. They're like programs. Leadership Louisville, obviously Louisville's a little bigger than Huntsville, but looking at what was your missteps, what worked well, what can we take away from what you're doing as we kind of grow out our program too. So that's been very helpful. But also listening to our board members, past board chairs, and sometimes leaning into the past is a good thing because there's some things that we've moved away from over the 40 years that we're kind of pulling back in. And one thing also we want to recognize are people who have made this organization what it is by recognizing their volunteerism or just what they've given to our community. And so we're going to have a Hall of Fame. We've actually had the whole selection committee. People were able to nominate individuals that have been through our program or given back in, whether it be a Distinguished Alumni Award or Community Impact Award or a Volunteer Service Award. So we'll be recognizing them at our closing ceremony in May. So we're excited about that.
You mentioned Austin and Louisville. Is there, and this is something I really enjoy about Huntsville, the more I've learned under Mayor Battle when it came to like building the Orion or things like that, where they do a music audit. And actually I think they just launched another music audit to say, hey, how are we doing in the music and the theater and the arts and stuff like that. But they'll, or they went up to Chattanooga, I think, to see, hey, how did they do their downtown when Chad Emerson was over the downtown Huntsville Inc. Right? He was looking at other cities and stuff. Is there a conference for things like this that you're attending and you're conversing with Louisville and Austin and others? And do you feel like you all are in that kind of the top echelon of these types of programs in the country?
I will tell you, we had the opportunity to visit Leadership Louisville, visit Leadership Austin, but the staff, we went to, there's an Association of Leadership Professionals, ALP, which we kind of fall under. That's our umbrella. And
so it's like a franchise type idea in a way?
The leadership organizations, typically they're under the chamber umbrella. But some have pulled out and become 501c3s like Leadership Greater Huntsville.
Got it.
Louisville and Austin are also their own entity. And I think that has given them more flexibility to grow because they have grown tremendously. But within that, we have the CEOs have a pace setter group. So we have a lot of opportunities to collaborate. Our staff collaborates with Louisville. They'll have one-off Monday meetings, Zoom meetings, and just share ideas. What worked well, what can we take away from you, what can, and vice versa. It's been very reciprocal of some things that we shared when we visit Austin, Leadership Austin. They're like, well, we want to do that. So, it's a great learning experience and growth experience because, you got to bounce ideas off of one another and figure out, okay, this is something, especially as we kind of look in this league greater and growing out this portion of the house of Leadership Greater Huntsville. I mean, it's a little scary, right? We want it to go well. I don't want to have more added to our staff's plate because they work a lot and very hard. So how does that balance look? And we don't want to misstep, and we want to learn from others who've made it successful.
Yeah. Let me ask you your opinion on something, because I forgot to mention John Allen because he went to Auburn.
He did.
And he's probably about your age.
Yes,
I'm 50.
And he's our next door neighbor.
He's your next door neighbor, right? I knew that there was a connection there that was missing.
Yeah.
Committee of 100.
Right.
Shout out to John.
Yes.
He's been on the show.
Yeah. Love some John Allen.
He came also, like, I felt underdressed when he came, but like, again, I'm trying to give a shout out to Fowler, Foul Wow.
Rocket City.
Between the Trash Pandas and Foul Wow, that's pretty much like all the t-shirts I have.
That's an awesome shirt, by the way.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah. I got a lot of them. I got the Egg Beater Jesus. I wore that last episode. I've got the Mr. T one that's like, you remember like, what did he say? Like, I pity the fool that mess with the Huntsville or something like that. But I just love his shirts. Because my given name is Monty, so like I have the It's the Mountain Dew shirt. But it's Montesano and the Mountain Dew type thing.
Nice.
So anyway, I try to represent local,
awesome.
Right?
Yeah.
So even when John shows up in a suit, like I'm wearing a t-shirt, dude. But what is your thoughts on, and this is, and I like to ask somebody like this because you're a native, right? You've spent it's interesting where you went to Bob Jones.
I did.
And 3 years later, you're teaching 18-year-olds at Bob Jones.
That were ninth graders when I was a senior.
Right. So Joey Cece in particular, when he was on, he was like, Troy, you're not going to run for mayor in like Montgomery if your grandfather wasn't on, the city council. Oh, yeah. You're not going to run for mayor or city council in Mobile unless your grandpa was on the Mardi Gras committee.
Yeah.
Or born under the right mulberry bush or something. He said something like that. But Huntsville is different. So, for you as a native, and you kind of touched on it earlier, what happened where North Alabama, this segment of North Alabama kind of decided to depart in a way and wanted to welcome and be open to outsiders? Because I certainly feel like there's a lot of us who've come here, and I feel like I'm applying lessons learned from my life, where I've lived, and this is an application of that, where it's like, okay, I can finally live near the airport. I finally don't have to have a 50-mile commute because it's so expensive, and I have time now. So with the time I have to do other things, what am I going to do in the community? Like, I can coach. I'm not just consumed by a commute and work, which literally sucks the life out of you.
Yeah.
Why is Huntsville different? And the John Allens and you and the others that are local that being accepting of the outsider?
So I'm going to date myself even more so than I already have. So, and I remember being at Bob Jones, and it was 1986. That's the 1900s, Kayla.
That was a good year, too.
It was a really good year. Bon Jovi's album maybe come out then?
87.
Right? 87.
Slippery When Wet.
Yeah,
it was 87. 86, you had Top Gun came out that year.
That's right. Good stuff. Dirty Dancing.
Yeah.
Was that 86?
Maybe. Sounds good enough. Michael Jackson was the king of pop.
For sure.
Michael Jordan was the king,
Prince.
Prince.
Can we just give a shout out? So 86.
Don't mind us.
But I remember we had like 400 students at Bob Jones.
Wow.
And we started getting new people moving in. And, you've grown up with these people since like First Baptist pre-K, and then you've got all of a sudden these people who start moving in and they start building homes off of Slaughter Road, right? There's that I don't even remember what it's called anymore. And then Silver Creek on Hughes Road. Well, that was something we thought, wow, those people are rich, So you just see all these developments start coming, and we were excited about it, because we'd seen the same people since we were born.
Get new boys to look at and everything, right?
So we graduated with the largest class at Bob Jones with 157 students. Isn't that crazy? But we had grown. That was big. And then you see this explosion, right? I say that. That continued to get larger and larger, and then the city too. And I just feel like we were always welcoming, to meet new people every day, and still today. Gosh, I can go to, I go to Campus 805 and I look around, I'm like, I don't know a soul in here. That's okay, And
you were there when it was an actual school.
That's right. You're absolutely right. I found the speakeasy right away.
Sure. Because that was the old,
that's right.
wrestling room or something.
That's right. But I don't know. That's just how we're kind of, I don't know if that's just also our generation where we were just like, yeah, let's all hang out. We all get along.
Yeah.
That's what we do. But I don't think that's like Joey's, what Joey was saying, that's not the case across the state. And I think that's what makes us exceptional and also an anomaly, and that we welcome everyone. Now, on the other side of that is 565 exit to get on the Parkway. I mean, that is when I'm kind of like, what's happening?
Yeah.
But that's part of growth, right?
And that's a
There's
challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's okay. I think we've got great leaders in place, Mayor Battle, Mayor Bartlett, who, that's the other thing. When you can call up and your mayor says, come on in, let's sit down. That in a city this size, both cities, and the county commissioner too, that they are like, come on, let's have a conversation. That says a lot.
Yeah.
That kind of keeps you grounded as a citizen, right? That no matter how large we are and we don't know all these people at the Campus 805, that you can have a conversation with your mayor or even the delegation here, the Madison County delegation. They want to hear that you have it, and they're sincere about it. So I think that's also what makes this area so exceptional.
Renee is awesome.
She is.
I just text her. I don't know if she has people or not. Because,
text her and say I said hello.
Well, she's been on the show
Love
before,
her.
and then I've been trying to get her on it since she. I was supposed to interview her the day that Alabama played in the Rose Bowl, but then she went to the Rose Bowl.
She did, yeah.
And so in the rain
right.
and all that stuff, right?
We have an IU fan.
Yes.
Here we go. Fine.
That's right.
Should we turn the mic over to Kayla?
Yes.
She can give her Kurt Signetti speech.
Which she can.
No, it's awesome. Anyway, but she was talking when I interviewed her, and when she was just the mere, chair of the city council, and she's in chess and all this stuff. She was just kind of talking about how important local politics is, because like, hey, you're going to see me at the grocery store. Like,
right.
We're going to talk, we're going to converse, and a lot of these other, you should definitely vote, but vote in your local elections if you want to make a difference, right? You want to be heard.
That's right.
But and I've interviewed Tommy as well on 9/11 actually.
Oh wow,
that was a cool day to do it because they had just come back from a ceremony.
Oh
and,
wow.
His handler wouldn't let me like talk to him too long. He's like, I got all the time in the world. He's like, no, you don't. You have like an hour.
Zach.
I was like, man. But so what? Let me make sure. What other elements of leadership Great Huntsville do you want to launch into that we haven't covered yet, or you would like
so
to?
we just closed applications. We're excited. We're about to select the next best class ever, and just the staff. I mean, Kayla's in here and she supports our high school program, which has really been fantastic. The things that she has curated for the students to see, and some students that might not have ever gotten out of their zip code, right? That they had an opportunity to meet other students from around the county, whether they be in private school or homeschool or whatever, right? Build those relationships, those connections, and then have the conversation with your mayor. What 17-year-old gets to do that often? All the way up to, then we have our Spark program, which is coming up also. That's our college program for college sophomores through their graduate year. That's the first week of April. Again, I'm trying to talk to my own child into doing it. He's a junior at Auburn. And I'm like, those are opportunities that some adults don't get.
Yeah.
To get to talk to the mayors, to talk to other civic leaders, to hear about, the challenges in our city, and then ask questions back and get a response.
Yeah.
That's things that you just don't get to do every day. And then other programs that just set that trajectory for everyone here that's moved in, the newcomers of the world here. We have our focus programs that do that. It's 2.5 days, followed by we have a connect class for emerging leaders.
Are you getting a record number of applicants every time?
I mean, this for sure. One thing I think is interesting about this area, I'm probably tattling on people, but they'll wait till the last minute to apply. But when they did, it was
like what you did.
Yes, I did. Oh my gosh, listen. Okay. Nice.
But that's okay.
Well played, Troy. Well played. I had it coming. But
it's different. You didn't know what you were getting into. They do.
Yes. Yeah. And it's so great when they get into it. But we had a lot. I think Kaylee went to bed the night that, it was like X amount of applications. The next morning, she's like, oh my gosh, So it's great.
But you're kind of from a resource issue or the teaming, you're trying to forecast what kind of time and attention you need to put to these applicants, and all of a sudden you get 30 more. You're like, oh my gosh.
Yes. And so we have had a record number and we're excited about it. And that kind of leads us into those that aren't selected to be in the next class. We still want them to somehow feel connected. And that's why these lead grader things have kind of started evolving, right? Whether it be our Be Bold Summit that we did in January to the Lead On Summit we're having in July, ways to make sure that people who didn't get selected to be in the program, and I don't want it to sound like that's exclusive, but then there's other ways they can plug in, or we can plug them in, because at the end of the day, if they want to learn to network, connect, but more importantly, make an impact in the community, we're here to make that happen. And we want to make sure that they feel that supported in that.
What percentage of the app are having their employer pay the tuition?
I'd say a majority of them. Yes, for
Okay.
sure. And it's it's not cheap, right? But we understand that if we're going to charge this amount, it needs to be an exceptional experience.
Yeah.
And an elevated experience, just those little touches. And our staff does a great job along with the steering committee and the alumni to make sure that they feel like when they walk away from a program day, every class participant's like, wow, that was impactful, and it was memories too. It was very memorable. Core memories are made is what we want our programs to be. It is mainly employer, paid. But if there are people who are so passionate, that's why we have that tuition assistance.
Mm-hmm.
There's nonprofits out there, right, that we know that they're doing all the things just to give back. We want to make sure that they don't feel excluded because they're the ones who we want to highlight too on our program days. So making sure that they're part of experience in our programs. Yeah.
I was just thinking when I used to manage a lot of people, we always had some sort of 4,000 to 6,000 a year on like education. Mm-hmm. But it was always like difficult because sometimes you're like, well, you already have your undergrad, you have your master's, and you have the certification. Like, well, what's left? And you want to use the money, mm-hmm. and you also want to challenge your person. So like, how cool is it to have this as an opportunity to something different than just what everyone else is doing in a way, right? That's right. Customized. It's mm-hmm. for this area. It's really you're gonna also you're gonna network then with a common group of friends. Versus just kind of this off the shelf. Well, I might as well just get a certification instead.
That's right. That's right.
I think that's really neat.
And I think one thing that we've had a big discussion about we entered into a new strategic plan last year. We went through the whole process, mm-hmm. and one thing that really kind of jumped off the page was the importance of regionalism.
Yeah.
18 counties pour into this county to work every day. That's one thing I mentioned in my interview, and then they go home. So how are we making sure they feel connected?
Yeah.
But also that their counties are just as important because we have such growth, right? So really kind of leaning into program days, regional program days that, what's going on in Athens.
Are you working with the COGs, like TARCOG and the other ones, the councils of government?
Yes.
Okay.
Making sure that those, when they do their program days on the program day chairs, that our staff's pulling from those individuals who can really get us into Limestone County and Jackson County, and not to be like, hey, we're the big brother of the things, but we want to learn. We want to learn from you guys, mm-hmm. and then come and visit our programs too, because it really is. It's regional work now,
Yeah. Are you talking like Launch 2035 and I guess the Tennessee Valley and like I have my own lens of regionalism, but I guess it's just looking for those things to pull in. You're maybe not necessarily a specific organization, but just this concept of how do we feel Morgan County and Jackson County like all feel like they're a part of the North Alabama region?
That's right. Okay. And it could be the economic development piece. Yeah. It just will depend on what that steering committee and the staff member really wants to kind of lean into. I know that Diana King, who's our flagship director, she's really focused on how to implement that, for sure. And then the next year, especially with the 40th for flagship. Mm-hmm. So
I was just thinking back to when I interviewed Ethan Woodruff, who was a part of like trying to bring the zoo here.
Oh, yeah.
NALS, the
mm-hmm.
North Alabama Zoological Society, mm-hmm. or something. And they do a lot of education now with kids and they do field trips. But, sometimes I think people just think, oh, it's a trivial thing. You just build a zoo. Like, it's a lot of money and there's land and, is this area ready for a zoo? Mm-hmm. What's the economic impact? Like these things are not like they're not easy.
No, that's true.
And I'm sure you were
dealt very intentional
capital projects and stuff that have been presented to you, and like what's a good use of funds, right?
Right. Those choices you got to be very intentional, but very strategic.
Yeah.
And then think about not just thinking about the next year, but as far as, when I was superintendent or, he's as the mayor, because I think he does a phenomenal job as a visionary leader. But when you cast that vision, it needs to be 5-10 years down the road from now.
Yeah.
You can't be thinking next year. So.
Do you want to publicly state right now that you want to unseat Tommy as the mayor? You want to be the next mayor? That would be amazing, right?
I don't know. I think he should run again.
Yeah, he's awesome.
I'm his biggest cheerleader. So
when you're the mayor, you get to eat a lot of cake. I ran into him at one of the events. Like, how many pieces of cake do you think you've had at all these events? He's like, sometimes I have cake for breakfast, and
so
he's like,
funny.
sometimes I've had 3 pieces of cake in a day because it's like, he's at
all
the VBC.
all the things, yeah.
I was like, well, that'd be a fun job if you like cake.
I love it. I'll tell you, he's a go-getter.
Yeah.
I mean, and I got to give him a shout out. I got to give Mayor Bartlett a shout out, because if we ever call them or call, their admin assistants or the Zacks of the world, right? Man, they're so quick to respond and help our program, and then talk about their stories, because I don't know if I'm giving away a story, but that's why Mayor Bartlett and Mayor Battle ran, was because of their experience in leadership Greater Huntsville. And everybody in the class, like, you really should do this. And of course, that's their story to tell, but it kind of just goes back to what comes out of that experience is so much deeper than just going to a program day, right?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, it changed me, and I grew up here. Those are some of my best friends that I know I could pick up the phone and call. We were actually still going through the whole COVID thing when Dr. Nichols and I went through flagship, and I mean, it was tough because we had people who were feeling some kind of way about the masking and all the things, and I get it. Yeah. Everybody has their own way they feel about it, and I respect that, both sides. But it was hard, and they're some of my dearest friends.
Yeah,
because they were like, "Hey, we're here," So I think, and I'm speaking for Dr. Nichols, but I think he would say the same.
I'm sure a lot of people thought you and Paul Finley were related somehow.
Oh, for sure.
Right.
There's a story there about my custodian. I'll tell you. You got a minute? You got a minute? So when I was at Blossomwood, I'd just gotten there as the principal, and we were, the custodian and I were washing the tables down before the next group of students came in. And he said, and I know he knows this story already. And he said, "So how's your husband?" I'm like, "Well, this is very nice of him to ask." I was like, "Well, Mr. Kenneth, he is doing well. How does he like his job?" And I'm like, "He likes it." I was like, "He's been on the Arsenal for a while, And I'm like, "How does he know my husband?" He was like, "Well, we're so glad he won the election." I'm like, whoa, not married to Paul Finley, But I will say he's a very good friend of ours.
Sure.
So yeah.
Well, when I mentioned Joey earlier in the if your grandpa or whatever, but the thing that I forgot to mention, because he said Paul Finley is from
Kentucky.
Mm-hmm. Renee's from Arkansas,
right?
And Tommy's from Birmingham.
Yeah, that's true.
And they've all been mayors here, right? So it's just kind of that case in point, right? Mm-hmm. It's not like you have to be a Finley
that's
of
right.
yours, right? Or
No,
whatever.
I think that's what makes us so unique too.
But yet we honor and respect the Wicks family and the
right,
others,
absolutely.
and Davis and whatever that have contributed here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many.
Right.
I want to ask you some fun questions and some hypotheticals.
Okay.
As I think we might kind of start wrapping up.
Okay.
Favorite color?
Gosh, it depends on the day. What do I wear a lot of? Blue. Yeah.
Cowboys
blue.
fan?
I mean, I don't do NFL.
Okay.
I'm kind of getting not into college football now because of NIL. Do you ever feel that way?
I hate it.
Makes me sad.
And that and PGA and Live Golf, it's just ruined it.
I know.
For me. But the NIL, they got to do something.
Thank
Thank
that's
goodness.
a soapbox for me. But I'm an Auburn fan, and we don't really. I'm just kind of sad.
But here she's laughing over here.
I know, she's
Indiana,
like,
right?
I
It's
mean,
like,
right?
we don't need it. But yeah, I hate that. I was telling Joel Lamp. Do you know Joel?
Yes,
From Huntsville Sports Commission.
Yes.
I said, when was the last time you watched a college game? And they actually showed, hey, this student's studying accounting. Never. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, or at the end of the game, they give a scholarship, to the Chevrolet player of the game.
Right.
Let's just be honest. This is like semi-pro for the most part for Division I.
Yeah, I mean the days of loyalty.
Are they going to class?
That?
I hope look. This is for those who are. There's a very small amount that are like the true powerhouse conferences, right, and stuff that this applies to.
Right.
Where they're getting paid.
Yeah.
They're not really going to class, so it's like then let's just not call it college football. But yeah,
so true.
You get me going on that. Phobia.
It's going to be snakes. And now that we've talked about it, I'm going to see one. So I put that in the universe. Kayla knows, right?
You're going to see one where
at the house.
At the house.
I mean, yeah. And they're not nice ones either.
The rattlers and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, the no-necks.
Well, I guess they like your property then if they're hanging out and they feel safe.
Yeah, right.
Is there This is
Oh, and heights. I hate
Oh,
heights.
yeah, okay.
Oh gosh. Yeah, don't do rides. I'm good. I'm good about, we go to the Opryland when the kids are little, or the Gatlinburgs or whatever. I'll go to the shows. I need to be on the ground. The Disney's world, not me.
Is there a role that you would have, as an actress, either a movie or TV show, that you would have liked to have played in that, that role?
Gosh.
They should have cast you.
Oh gosh. I don't know. That's a good question. Still Magnolias.
Okay.
Yeah. And Weezer, like not Shelby. Like I want to be Weezer. Weezer, 100%. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Someone that you would like to go back and apologize to in your life, that you, from time to time, it eats at you. Like, I wish I could just go back and say I'm sorry.
Oh gosh. Well, my mom. Yeah, because I was kind of a not nice teenager, And she was a single parent, doing all the right things, doing the best she could, teacher salary, and we had tough times. And I could have been a better teenager, 100%.
Did you? I guess you thanked her later, though.
Like for sure. Like, and now she lives right down the road from you.
Okay.
I need to probably do a drive by.
You should go by tonight and just say, "Mom, if there's anything,
right."
This is a blanket apology.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, and then because she would bring up, well, you remember this and this and this.
If you could have lived in another state, which state would you like to live in?
So I'm a closet Tennessee fan.
Okay.
It would have been. That's where I wanted to go to college, but couldn't afford out-of-state tuition. It would have been in Tennessee. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you and your husband might eventually get one of these like RVs or Airstreams and just travel. And
that's what we would love to do.
Maybe just go. Just put your stakes down at Montana or something.
Yeah, I would love that.
Right.
Yeah, where I could cut somebody's grass though. I mean, that's got to happen.
You got to bring the mower with you. That would look as redneck as they come.
For sure.
You have your RV and then the mower being pulled
That's
behind
right.
it. Like, whose grass are they going to cut, right? Maybe they're the campground manager.
That's right.
Give me a funny experience you had on the farm.
Oh, goodness. Oh, yeah. So when we would tromp cotton, and they don't even have that anymore. Like, you don't do that. There's like machinery for that. I would get in the back of the trailer and hide because I didn't want to work. And my sister would tell on me. And I would be like, what are you doing? Are you going to ruin my chance to get my RC Cola and my moon pie? What's happening here? And my granddad would light me up. And probably not in a good way. That I'm not promoting that. But he would get a cotton stalk. And I'm just saying.
Come after you.
Yeah. And then I would resume tromping down the cotton. But yeah. And so when we talk about apologizing, I would never apologize to my sister because she was always the tattletale. So, but those were good times, know.
Do you know John Kinsley by chance?
I don't think so.
He's the chair now of the AUSA chapter for Huntsville. But he grew up on a farm in Michigan, and they had a Japanese like exchange student that lived with them, and he had like never seen a farm. And he was just talking about one day, like they had these horses, and the one had just like gone to the bathroom. Oh. And then as the kid, he couldn't stand the smell. He was running away, and then the horse like flicked it.
Oh no!
And just And it was like.
Oh no!
It was hilarious, but not good either.
I know. Well, I'll tell you another experience was that my granddad had pigs, and I fell in love with one baby pig, which of course what I name him. Wilbur.
Right? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Because you just read Charlotte's Web.
I did in first grade. Yeah. And I will say it was the greatest pig ever. And, when I would come on weekends, I'd go visit Wilbur. And then I went and visited, and Wilbur wasn't there. And I'm like, did they sell Wilbur? But my grandmother had a deep freeze that she kept out in the carport, And I went out there, and I was like, there was a lot of food in here.
You ate Wilbur.
And I went in, I was like, where's my pig? As she's frying bacon. And I was like, this is so bad.
I have an idea for you all. You need to have a mascot for Leader Gracious Huntsville that's a pig.
You think?
Well, we tried to adopt a cat.
I
tried to adopt a cat.
Well, yeah, I'm a sucker. I love
Well, it doesn't have to be real big. Just to get a
Humane Society.
A mascot outfit.
Oh, we'll need a real live one.
Then you can eat it at the
banquet. Oh, no, we can't do that. Oh, no.
All these ideas.
No.
All these ideas. In Peru, they like the guinea pigs. You know,
Oh, right.
They'll kill them and eat them, and it's
they're
a
everywhere, though,
delicatessen.
right?
I think
They're
so. yeah.
everywhere. Ooh, that makes me sad.
All right, I have. Do you like to sing? By the way, are you like into karaoke and all that?
I like to sing. I don't think people like to hear me sing.
Well, this is my favorite.
I think I'm good, but
Well, this is my favorite hypothetical that I like to give. So you're leaving the VPC. Let's say you and Kirk, your husband.
yes,
Not
Paul.
Not Paul. He would never qualify to be in your family. And you're out. You've just left and you've gotten into your car, parked at the Clinton garage, and you're now driving along that little service road.
Yeah.
And you notice, oh, we're the only ones on the road. And but there's people everywhere, and you're like, hey, Kirk, put the windows down, turn it up.
Yeah.
I want to sing this song to as loud as I can sing,
Right.
to my heart's content. No shame.
Okay.
What song are you listening to and singing?
Amarillo by Morning, George Strait. He is the king.
Do you want to sing it now?
No, oh gosh, no. Do you know the words?
No, you'd have to start me out. I might recognize it.
Oh, it's so out of key. I don't even know what the key would be. It's the Christie key, which means not a key.
I think I need to wrap up.
Okay.
But because I could talk all day, but I don't want you
great.
to. I don't want you to think like, oh my gosh. Yeah. So I will tell you this.
I like to talk.
The one thing I do pride myself on, and I am going to start doing this. I'm going to start creating certificates, and I'm going to say we kind of didn't really get to talk about your running, but I know at the age 45 you ran a 5-hour marathon.
I did. My time wasn't that great,
But you did it.
but I did it. Yes.
So
used to love to run.
You used to love to run. You're not able to do it anymore. Like
No, I've had about 3 knee surgeries, and my doctor, should I give him a shout out?
yeah,
Dr. Greco, love him. But he was like, you know what?
he's your orthopedist.
Yes. Yeah, he was like, you can do other things. So that's when I got into like some strength training and things. So
I think your grandpa on the farm would say, "Suck it up."
Yes.
And run the race.
yeah, he would be like, embrace the suck. Or I'm going to get the cotton stalk back out.
No, but I really appreciate you coming in.
Thank
Do you have any final thoughts or shout outs that you want to extend?
We appreciate the opportunity to be over here, and speak on your podcast.
Yeah.
It's been great. I love to talk. But the shout out goes to the team at Leadership Greater Huntsville, the alumni, and all the people who just pour in. It's a great program. I am blessed to be a part of it, and just grateful to be here to be able to talk about it and share it with you.
Awesome.
So-
I forgot to. How long do you think we've been talking?
I don't know, hour and a half?
Hour and 45.
Really?
So I forgot to finish my point. The certificate
Yeah.
is
Oh, yeah.
you get your PR for like the longest time on a podcast.
Oh, really?
And my goal is to always like find out how long it's been.
Yeah.
And Megan's was like 50
Okay.
minutes. And I'm like, you're going to set a PR with me.
All right, well-
Anybody that sits here.
Maybe you bring me back, and then I'll tell stories. Names have changed, but the stories are real. And she's heard a few. I like to talk a little bit. Yeah.
No, that's awesome. And all the best.
Hey, thank you so much.
I'm happy. I'm sure that this is, again, like knowing what was going to happen as you transition from being a superintendent to private life and trying to figure out what you're supposed to do. And your husband's like, do something, get out of here.
Yeah.
I
Quit calling me about traffic concerns while you're on the way to Pilates. First world problems. So yeah, but I landed where I hope that I'm contributing and hopefully making a difference and supporting the team. One of my favorite quotes is "Be where your feet are," and I'm blessed to be where my feet are right now.
Well, I've learned about it's no better than 2 dead flies. What's
That's
that
right.
one?
That's yes.
No, not worth more than 2 dead flies.
You're not worth 2 dead flies. That's right.
That's a good one. I've never heard that.
Yes.
All right, Christy, all the best. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Bye-bye.